It was June 12, 1998. The air was thick with the scent of bonfire smoke and wildflowers. In the small town of Belridge, nestled between two forested state parks, teenagers celebrated the end of the school year with laughter, music, and fireworks. Among them was 17-year-old Marissa Ellison, a bright, kind, and artistically gifted student who had just been accepted into a prestigious art college. But by sunrise, Marissa was gone. She was last seen walking toward the edge of the field, near the woods, just after 11:42 p.m. Her friend said she was going to retrieve her sketchbook from her car. She never came back. By morning, her car was still parked under the old maple tree, the driver's side door slightly ajar. Inside, the sketchbook was there. But something else was on the dashboard, a handwritten note on yellowed paper. 5 chilling words. You were never meant to be found. The note was unlike anything the Belridge Police Department had ever encountered. Written in blocky, uneven letters, the message felt personal. The ink? Red. At first, presumed to be from a red pen. It wasn't. It was blood. Tests confirmed it matched Marissa's blood type, but due to contamination at the scene, too many people touched it. The evidence was ruled inconclusive. That was the first mistake. Years later, we would learn that the note wasn't the only thing left behind. 2 hikers, passing through Belridge Forest on the morning of June 13th, reported something odd. Just off the path, a child's shoe, small and white, spotted with something dark. They assumed it belonged to a local child. They left it. That same shoe would resurface 12 years later, in a box buried beneath the old Belridge church. Alongside it, a lock of hair, blonde, human, tied in a crimson ribbon. Jason Crowley was 11 years old. He lived near the forest's edge and often watched the high school parties from his bedroom window. What he told police was simple. I saw Marissa walk into the woods, but she wasn't alone. Jason described a man in a sheriff's uniform, a man who waved her over. The problem? No officer admitted to being near the woods that night. Jason changed schools a week later. 6 months after the disappearance, he and his family moved out of Belridge entirely. They never left a forwarding address. 1 week after Marissa vanished, the Belridge evidence room caught fire. The official story? Electrical failure. But records show that in the 45 minutes before the blaze, a janitor reported an unfamiliar man in plain clothes exiting the restricted area. Gone were the original note, the partial footprint mold found in the mud near her car, and the blood sample. No arrests, no suspects, no accountability. It was only the beginning. In 2004, 6 years after Marissa disappeared, her mother, Linda Ellison, received a call from a blocked number. A woman's voice whispered, "He's still wearing the uniform. Don't trust them." Click. Linda replayed the voicemail repeatedly. She believed it was her daughter. The voice, the way she said them, sent chills down her spine. But the call could never be traced. The audio mysteriously vanished from her phone a week later. Linda began sleeping with her lights on. Meet Deputy Roy Kessler. He was on duty the night Marissa disappeared, patrolling the fairgrounds. He logged a 12 a.m. break, claimed he went home to take migraine meds, but records showed he never clocked back in. Roy was known to Marissa's family. He even dated Linda Ellison briefly after her husband died. But here's where it gets strange. A photo surfaced in 2009, taken during the fair that night. In the background, barely visible, was Roy, standing near the tree line, looking directly at Marissa and smiling. In 2011, an urban explorer named Tasha Miles uploaded a video. She had broken into an abandoned building on the outskirts of Belridge, what used to be the old town hall. She descended into the basement and found a room behind a false wall. Inside, dozens of photos of Marissa, her school locker, her sketchbooks, even her house. Pinned to a corkboard was a newspaper clipping of her disappearance, circled in red ink. The video went viral for 24 hours. Then her account was banned. The video, removed from every platform. Tasha went missing a week later. In 2013, An anonymous package arrived at the Belridge Gazette. No return address, no note. Inside, carefully wrapped in parchment, was the same crimson ribbon that had been tied around the lock of hair found years ago beneath the church. This time, though, the ribbon was attached to something new. A photo. It showed a teenage girl, face turned away, being led through a wooded trail by a man in uniform. The timestamp on the photo? June 12, 1998. The file was handed over to authorities. They never released it publicly, but a whistleblower from within the department would later admit that wasn't the only photo. Linda Ellison never gave up. In 2015, while cleaning the attic, she found Marissa's old sketchbook, one that was never entered into evidence. Taped to the back cover was a folded sheet of notebook paper. It was a journal entry, dated 3 days before Marissa disappeared. He watches me. Even when I don't see him, I feel it. He stands by the school gate sometimes. Not in uniform, but I know it's him. I don't want to tell Mom. She already thinks I'm paranoid. But if anything happens to me, look at him first. The name wasn't written, but Linda knew exactly who he was. In 2017, a new voice emerged from the shadows of the case. Marjorie Kessler, the widow of Deputy Roy Kessler, broke her silence in a midnight radio interview. Her voice trembled as she confessed. Roy had secrets, boxes in the basement, locked. I was never allowed to look. After his sudden death in 2016, a heart attack, they said, Marjorie finally opened the boxes. What she found: maps, Polaroids, letters, and a tattered flyer from the Belridge Fair, with Marissa's name underlined over and over and over again. Among the items in Roy's secret box was a crudely drawn map. It showed Belridge, but distorted. Roads were renamed, certain houses marked with red X's. One X sat at the center of the woods, marked with a single word: sanctuary. Investigators hiked to the coordinates in 2018. What they found would haunt them forever: a decaying underground shelter, reinforced with steel. Inside, a mattress, a small chair, and dozens of drawings taped to the walls. Drawings in Marissa's style. But no body, no fingerprints, no conclusion, just questions. Later that year, an older woman named Delaney Cross stepped forward. She had been a runaway in 1998, passing through Belridge the night of the fair. Her face was pale as she spoke. He tried to take me too. I was hiding near the woods, sleeping. I saw him, the uniform. He dragged her by the wrist. She was struggling. Why didn't she report it? Because he saw me, and he smiled. I knew if I told, I'd be next. She vanished 3 days after giving that statement. Gone without a trace. Detective Elena Rourke took over the case in 2019. She had a reputation for solving the unsolvable and a personal connection. Her older sister had attended school with Marissa. She reopened the files and noticed something no one else had. 4 other girls had vanished in the counties surrounding Belridge from 1996 to 2001. All 5 shared chilling similarities: blonde hair, artistic backgrounds, no bodies ever found. The final message always included a red mark or symbol. This wasn't a one-time crime. This was a pattern. Elena found something odd on the note originally left in Marissa's car. A barely visible embossed symbol, only seen under infrared light. It was circular, ancient-looking, not random. She took it to a symbolist. The verdict? That's a sigil, old occult. It means oblivion. The same symbol was found on a tree trunk at the underground shelter, and it matched the red mark on each missing girl's last known belongings. This wasn't just a crime, it might have been a ritual, or a message. A series of anonymous blog posts appeared on a hidden message board called The Quiet Ones. Each post detailed knowledge only someone close to the case could know. The ruined photo, the forest symbols, the shelter. One post read, Marissa wasn't the first, but she was the last. The mistake. Another, you're close, but you're watching the wrong Kessler. Deputy Roy Kessler had a nephew, Eric Kessler, quiet, reclusive, lived off the grid on the outskirts of Belridge. He worked with his uncle at the station in the late 90s. Technically, he wasn't an officer, just a clerk. But records show he had unrestricted access to the evidence room. The same one that caught fire. Elena tracked him down in 2021. But he was already dead. Or so they thought. His death certificate? Forged. His property? Empty. Until they searched the crawl space. There, inside a box, they found a single item. Marissa's student ID, still stained with blood. March 2022. A new excavation in the woods revealed a shallow grave, marked only by a rotted cross. Inside, remains. Dental records confirmed what no one wanted to hear. Marissa Ellison had been there all along, wrapped in the same crimson ribbon. Beside her remains was a VHS tape, water-damaged, but recoverable. The footage, a recording, grainy, from inside the shelter. A voice whispered to the camera, "You can bury truth, but not forever." The voice on the VHS was matched to none other than Eric Kessler. He spoke in low, frantic tones, a man unraveling from within. "They told us to keep it clean, leave no trace, but I kept one, just one. She was art. She was truth. He told me he'd kill me if I didn't help. But I helped." He mentioned Roy, and someone else, someone in the department. Higher. The corruption went further than anyone imagined. In June 2023, Detective Elena Rourke submitted a final report. Dozens of sealed indictments were issued, including retired officers, city officials, and one former police chief, all tied to the cover-up. But there was no trial, no media circus, only silence. One by one, each suspect vanished, arrested quietly or found dead under suspicious circumstances. By 2024, the Kessler house was burned to the ground in what the fire marshal called a deliberate cleansing. And on the 26th anniversary of her disappearance, a bronze statue of Marissa Ellison was erected in the town square. On the base was etched 5 haunting words. "You were always meant to be found." Now that Marissa had been found, Detective Rourke couldn't let it rest. There were still 4 other missing girls, their cases buried in different counties, labeled runaways, unsolvable, or worse, ignored. But Rourke noticed something chilling. Each girl disappeared during a fair or public festival. Each girl was last seen near someone in uniform, and in each case, the family received a handwritten note. Not 5 words like Marissa's, but always the same theme. She's part of something greater now. Greater than what? Through Old Town records, Rourke discovered a secretive program known as the Belridge Pact, an informal coalition between law enforcement departments across several rural towns. On the surface, it was a mutual aid agreement. In reality, it appeared to be a network for covering up select disappearances. Files from the late 80s detailed behavioral observance requests, BORs, coded directives that authorized quiet surveillance of emotionally volatile young females. And many of those names, they matched the missing. A former forensic technician named Milo Dean came forward with something explosive. Digitally recovered footage from a damaged department hard drive. The grainy security video showed a holding room. Inside sat Marissa, terrified, curled up, days after she'd been declared missing. She was alive, and she was inside the Belridge police station. The timestamp confirmed it, June 14th, 1998. That footage never made it into any report. Milo handed it to Rourke. The next day, Milo was found dead. Apparent suicide. But he left one final note, scrawled in blood on his bathroom mirror. "They watched me. Now they'll come for you." Marissa's recovered body had been laid to rest. But during preparations, the funeral director found something peculiar in the folds of the clothing buried with her. A small, folded sketch, drawn in trembling pencil strokes. It showed a dark tunnel, a hidden door, and a red-eyed man standing just beyond it. In the corner of the drawing, Marissa had written, "He never stopped hunting, even when they fed him others." What did it mean? Using the locations tied to the other missing girls, Rourke identified one chilling thread. A man known only as the Collector. His real name never appears in public records, but his alias came from witness whispers. He was described as a man who cataloged girls like butterflies. What connected them? All had been observed months before vanishing. All had journals or diaries that mentioned the man with the camera. And just like Marissa, each one had been sketched before their disappearance. Sketches that weren't their own. In an abandoned psychiatric hospital 2 towns over, Rourke discovered something horrific. Behind a mirror in the intake ward was a sealed room. Inside, rows of filing cabinets. Every drawer filled with files on young girls. Photos, medical history, school performance, sketches. One drawer was labeled, Ellison M. Subject 005. This wasn't random. This was organized. At the bottom of the drawer sat an envelope. Inside, a list of names. 5 were crossed out. 1 remained. Subject 006, Lily Hawthorne, active. Rourke raced to track her down. Lily Hawthorne, now 19, lived alone, isolated on a small property once owned by the Kessler family. She refused to speak at first, but after hours of silence, she whispered, "They kept me for 5 days. I escaped. They told me if I ever spoke, they'd finish what they started." She confirmed the drawings, the red ribbon, the tunnel, and she confirmed the worst of it. There were others. I saw them. I heard Marissa. She was still alive when I got out. Lily never told anyone. Until now, Rourke's investigation had become too big, too damning. But before she could go public, she was approached by a man in a black coat. No name, no badge. He handed her a sealed file stamped with the government insignia and said, "This ends now, or you do." Inside the file were declassified memos about Project Obsidian, a psychological operations initiative designed to manipulate human behavior through fear, isolation, and loss. The missing girls weren't just victims. They were test subjects. And Marissa? She was the first to resist. It all came down to one location. A sealed military bunker beneath Belridge Forest, the true sanctuary. Rourke entered with a small private team. They found walls lined with monitors, psychological charts, and video footage of each girl's captivity. In the final room, they found him, the real collector, Eric Kessler, alive, uniged, and smiling. But behind him, a hidden chamber. Inside it, remains of 3 girls, unmarked, forgotten, and a final mural drawn on the wall in childlike scrawl. At the center of it, Marissa, wings, halo. She had become their angel of vengeance. The collector was never publicly tried. The tribunal that followed was private, swift, operated under federal secrecy. But the people of Belridge knew. They saw the signs. The ribbons stopped appearing. The woods felt safer. And for the first time in 27 years, the fair returned. Detective Elena Rourke retired shortly after, her final words etched into her personal journal. She was never meant to be forgotten, and now she never will be. Beneath Marissa's statue, the town built a new garden. They called it the Sanctuary of the Found. Stay tuned for more chilling cases on Cold Case Chronicles, where the truth is always darker than fiction. If you haven't already, make sure you're subscribed to Cold Case Chronicles. We dive deeper into the most chilling, unsolved mysteries, and together, we uncover what was left behind. Like, share, and leave a comment below. We want to hear your thoughts. Stay vigilant. Stay curious. The truth never rests.